Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Pyzalien 2 by Pyzel surfboards. Now I've got two custom boards. They're both 5'6", coming in at 25.5 liters. They're the exact same dimensions, but I have one in EPS and one in PU. And the reason I ordered custom is because the stock dimensions were not available for me to choose from. If I were to choose a stock board, I would go with the 5'7". Now I did put both these boards through the paces in waist high to maybe a foot overhead, and it didn't disappoint. I think you guys are gonna love this review, so sit back, get your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Now as we dive into the attributes of this board, I wanna first say that I never had the privilege of riding the original Pyzalien. And from what I understand, one of the major changes is a more domed deck, so there's more foam down the middle. He's refined the rail, but it has a full rail. And when I put my hand on it, it's relatively soft and forgiving. I can even feel or see the amount of foam that's in here on the board when I hold it down like on the side and I'm looking down at it. Now the reason I feel like this is such a big deal to point out is because my first wave on the EPS was at BSR Surf Resort in the wave pool. And for me, right off the bat, whatever I was transitioning from in the ocean, I'm in a new environment at the pool, and this fuller rail, I could feel it. I'm thinking, man, maybe this board's a little bit too thick. Maybe it's a little bit too full because I'm pushing hard and I'm not sinking it as fast as I like. But I didn't give up on it. I kept riding it, and the more I rode it, the better it started to feel. So I say that because if you follow me on Instagram, I say maybe it's the best daily driver in one board quiver for 1 to 6 foot plus that I've tested to date. But it didn't start as a favorite right off the bat. This board got better as I continued to ride it and really fine tune and dial in my own surfing. Now I also want to point out that I'm more of a back-footed surfer, meaning I'll sit back on the tail and I'll drive a board from surfing it off the tail and putting it where I want, and the board will squirt with speed. Some of you guys out there surf more neutral, so your weight distribution's pretty even, and you'll drive the board from that kind of posture. And then there's others that are more front-footed, and you put all your weight forward and you drive the board from a front foot, and you can generate a lot of speed that way. Now, I bring that up because the way the foam is distributed in this board, I really feel like it will suit all three different foot orientations very well. Because of all the foam and how forgiving the rail is, you can push real hard on the front foot and get this board to squirt with speed. So this board is very diverse, and I really believe it's going to suit a bunch of us excellent. Now I want to talk a bit about the outline. If we look at it, from my perspective, it looks a bit more like a high-performance shortboard, right? It might have a little wider tail and a little wider nose, but its wide point isn't significantly up from center. And that's a big deal because what's going to happen, this always happens, is you guys want to compare a couple models to each other. And I'm talking about the Phantom and the Pyzalien 2, because on the Pyzel website, they're calling both boards daily drivers. And what I can say is the Phantom was a favorite and the Pyzalien 2 is a favorite, but they surf completely different. Let's talk about the Phantom for just a second. It's wide point front from center. Naturally, it's gonna wanna draw out your turns and do good carves. And that's exactly how I would say I would separate the Phantom from the Pyzalien 2. The more I drove off the bottom and I could hit it frontside or backside, I could land to a big carve, go right into a bottom turn, right into a top turn, and I really felt like that's what the Phantom did really, really well for my style of surfing. Now we're here, Pyzalien 2. If it's front from center, it's real subtle. So this board pivots better. So I'm gonna get a little bit more vertical in the pocket. Now, is it carving good? Absolutely. I can still do big rail turns. It's carrying a ton of speed. And when I have that speed and I want to hit that turn, I have the confidence, but it surfs completely different than the Phantom, both daily drivers, right? Now let's talk about what Pyzel's website says about the Pyzalien 2 and its wave range. It's saying 2 to 10 foot. Okay, so 2 foot for me is probably about chest high. And this board went great there. Then we pushed it in maybe like waist high. And that's where I felt like this board kind of separated itself from the Phantom and a lot of other daily driver boards that I've ridden from a bunch of other manufacturers. We're gonna go into that a little bit more when we start talking about fins. Now I wanna talk about rocker and concave. And if the website's calling 2 to 10 foot surf, this board's gonna have some rocker in it. Yeah, I would say it's low to medium on the entry, continuous, and then medium exit rocker. And this board had great traction and carried good speed, even in the waist high and below. So I'm even saying that this board will go good in 1 foot surf, and they didn't exaggerate on the low side with it being the 2 to 10 foot range. Now, if we look at the concaves on the bottom, there's a single concave starting up right in here in the nose. And as we get in here, if I hold it like this, you'll be able to see. I would say it's moderate to aggressive single. And you can see my finger here. As I move it back, you can see it's got a good amount of single concave. And then as we come into about right between the fins, it's starting to double. So if I turn it this way, you can kind of see that, right? Now, as I get back here to the third fin, just past that, you can see my ruler is rocking back and forth. So the last 6 inches does have some V. And all this to say this board gets on rail easily when it rolls over, and I can hold it because of the V and the double concave. And I think that's really important when you've got a full rail and it's forgiving. Something's got to help you get it over on rail and then hold it there. Now I want to talk about the fins I chose. I started with the John Tech Flex because I've been riding this in the Ghost, the Phantom, the Shadow. So I kind of just stay consistent to find out how the fins go so I can compare notes when I ride different boards from the same maker. Now this is a neutral fin. It's a bit stiff, but with it being neutral, I have the best of getting vertical and carbs. Now I started as a thruster, felt great. Then I added the Hayden shape quad rears, which I did on all the other Pyzel models, and this went great too. So I'm carrying more speed now, a little bit more release in my turns, and I'm still getting a good pivot because this is a really upright quad rear set. Then I thought, okay, we've got smaller surf. Let's test it in the 1 to 2 foot range. Now I want to be clear. For me, a 1 foot wave is roughly waist high and down. 2 foot's more like chest high. And when I put it in smaller surf, I chose the AMTs. Stands for Almeric Twin, and this is a really upright pivot twin set. And this is the Alpha construction, and it comes with a tiny trailer. Now, front side, it felt good, carrying a ton of speed. Backside, this little trailer wasn't giving me enough traction off my bottom turn, and it was trying to slide out on me. So I put in the T1 and just a little bit more fin depth and a little bit more base gives me more hold. Now, I'll say this about the Pyzalien 2. Website says 2 to 10. I'm saying it's the best one board quiver groveling in 1 to 2 foot that I've tested to date. Now, for you East Coast guys, or if you surf a really mushy waves, it probably wouldn't be ideal for you, but if you're a one board quiver guy, this board will go great, but you're gonna have to mess with the fin setup a little bit. Now, for me, I wanna put the right board in the right environment, and I'm okay with having a quiver. So if I'm surfing 1 to 2 foot mush, I'm going Astropop. But for me, whatever fin setup I put in, this board went good, and I think whatever fins you already have, this board's gonna do you right. Now I wanna talk about both constructions and what I preferred. So head high and below, I rode the bulk of the review on the EPS. Coming in at 25.5 liters, it really floats like 26. That's what it feels like when I'm paddling it underfoot. Board's light, quick, and responsive, offering that pop and projection through turns. Now, when it was overhead, I wanted to ride the PU. Now, there was one day we surfed, it was pretty good size, it was foggy, kind of overcast, there was some texture on the water surface. I put in Jordy's new fin, so it has more rake, a little bit of a thinner tip, and I was getting the board to release, and I still had good control. Why don't we look at some waves and I can show you? So let's look at 1 to 2 foot surf. This is a Twin Plus trailer setup. You can see quick get up and go, nice little turn right there. Now these waves aren't mushy, but look at the quickness from rail to rail and how I can do the turns I want to do in a tight transition without having to worry about the nose catching anywhere. Quick little left, nice turn, good flow, board's quick and nimble from turn to turn. So these are more daily driver type waves. Look at the speed the board's carrying, and to hit this kind of roundhouse with that much speed, the board has good traction. Nice little check turn up top. Wave kind of went soft, but watch the pop in the EPS. That's what I like in small waves. And the board's just going rail to rail, real nice. Good spray right there, but this is the turn. You see the board projecting and throwing a lot of spray. That first turn, now this is a quad set right here. You can see the board's pivoting real good in a pretty small wave, and that's what I like. So here's some overhead surf in the fog. This is the Geordie set as a thruster. You can see good traction on the PU, even on the textured face. This left's nice, good first turn. Good release on this, lots of spray. The board's feeling spicy, and I feel like I have good control, even though the wave has a little warble to it. Look at this right, well overhead, coming off the bottom, getting the tail free, and I have control. This left, you can see there's the bump, kind of like a northwest choppy wind. Look at the release on the fins, and I almost finished it well. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Pyzalien 2. Now this is a favorite for 2020, and I highly recommend it for intermediate all the way to pro level surfers as a daily driver. Now after testing it in 1 to 6 foot plus, I'll say it's the best one board quiver I've ridden to date. Beyond that 6 foot range, you're gonna have to test it and report to me. Look, if you like the show, subscribe. If you like our content, give us a thumbs up, and special shout out thanks to John Pyzel for sending these boards down for review. And until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.